Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're going to give our first impressions of Redwood. Or Redwood.
However
you
prefer
want
to
to say it. This one's from Sit Down Games. And this was the first purchase I made at my very first Gen Con. If you want to see some of our videos of our Gen Con haul and stuff, check those videos out. But yeah, this one was one that I'd heard a little bit about. I don't know if it was as popular. I think there were some other games that were kind of more popular, more sought after. But I thought there was something kind of interesting about the look of this game, compared to a lot of games. This one has, there's some unique stuff, but I think it may be done kind of in slightly different ways with other, maybe almost war games, possibly.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's the most
The
similar,
war game.
That's the most similar thing I can maybe think of, something similar to that. But yeah, so in this game, you're going to be trying to get the most perfect photographs of kind of the naturous scenery, by getting pictures of sequoias, flowers, animals, and kind of doing it in certain ways, certain goals of ways. And then you're getting a bunch of pine cones, which are points.
Yes.
But yeah, the interesting thing to this one is that you're using, so you've got a figure on the board, and you're using. Oh,
Yeah.
Pepper, you get them out.
I'll get them out. We'll put some pictures on the screen, but I'll also get them out to show
Check
them.
out our unboxing video of this one, and you'll get a good look at all the stuff.
You got your awesome miniatures there.
You got your miniatures, which so this one really matters on your what is it? Perception? What would it be? Perspective? Kind of
something.
Your ability to kind of tell how far something is.
Yeah,
on the map.
So yeah, you have all these different kind of movement
Yes.
little trackers here, and you attach them into the base of your miniature, and that will show where they're moving kind of along this map. You have to do that at the start of your turn. You do that, you move, and you put your second miniature that you have at the destination space there. And then from that destination, you choose one of the many kind of camera lenses here, and you'll then attach that to their base. And anything that is completely covered by this on the map, that's what you're taking a picture of.
Yes. So, very unique in comparison to a lot of, any game that we have in our collection. I don't know, like I said, the closest thing I can think of is maybe some sort of war game, which we don't have war games, but all I'm thinking of is like using those kind of stick things to do, to measure movement and stuff. But yeah, otherwise, I can't really think of anything else like it. And yeah, so this one definitely, I think you have to determine right off the bat, and it does say in the rulebook that even like centimeter or whatever, millimeter, whatever the smallest is, can matter in the game.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of maybe have to know what kind of group you're playing with. If you're going to be really serious you got to get this exact, as close to exact as you can. Or if you're maybe a little bit more loosey-goosey on it, it's like, it might be a little bit off. It won't be exactly perfect.
Yeah, I think it totally works either way, just as long as you are all on the same page. Otherwise, there could be some arguments throughout the game where it's like, no, that's not actually fully covered, and it's like, it's close enough. So if you can get that straight at the start, I think that either way to play it is valid.
Yes.
Even if the rule book doesn't state it.
But yeah, I mean, we were playing a little loosey goose, but at the same time, I mean, I think we played it about as clean as we could for a first play. Yeah. We only played this one time so far, but yeah, I thought the artwork and the board looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And it was also an interesting board. It's just a lot of interesting components in this game, because then you've got the scoring cards that kind of go around the board.
Yep.
And initially, they looked like they were just normal rectangular scoring cards. If you played some, Euro games or any games in general, there's sometimes some of those smaller cards that are kind of end game scoring or some sort of bonus. These ones looked like that initially, and then noticed they were actually little cameras, so they had like a little notch on the top and on the bottom, so it wasn't actually a
Yeah.
rectangle exactly, but it looked like one initially. So
Would it be
I thought that was pretty cool.
harder to shuffle? Maybe. But
Yeah.
but the decks that you would be shuffling wouldn't be that large anyway.
Right.
You're just choosing one from each type, number 1 through 5. But I enjoy anytime they can just put a little twist or flair in some generic component like a card. If you can make it shaped into a camera, it's not that much different. It's just pretty much still a rectangle. I thought that was a great choice. And yeah, the artwork on the board, all the tokens. You put some animals, little cardboard tokens, and they are kind of dual layered because they have a notch on the bottom, which slots into holes on the board, which is good because when you're kind of moving these around, you don't want to be knocking animals around because, like you said, it's very important to be precise and know exactly
And
where
lucky.
everything is.
These have
Nice
some nice
little
bases.
bases that help them stick in place because if things are just shifting around the board, the game doesn't work.
Right.
But those animals are pretty snug in those holes. You don't want them loose, but they were pretty snug. And the first one that I then took out of the hole, they looked back, and the little nub from the back of it was still stuck in the hole.
Yes.
So then that struck fear in us throughout the game to where we tried our best to not put them all the way into those little notches because we didn't want to rip any more in half.
Right.
But so that is one thing. I'm guessing over time
Maybe wear a little
maybe
bit.
wear a little bit. Otherwise, you might have to
Sand
maybe
them
file them just
a
slightly
little.
because you don't want them moving around
Right.
or be too loose. But so that was, but it didn't need to be that way. So it's not quite perfect, but I think it still works enough. It's pretty functional.
Yeah, and I would say I assume this was going to be a game that was either going to work and be really cool, or it was going to be something where the components were kind of not working, like it's really fiddly and it doesn't, maybe a pain kind of thing. So I was a little worried about that. I figured it was kind of, could be easily be one or the other.
Yeah.
And I would say outside of that, where those animals were going in, I think like the actually hooking it onto the bases and the moving that around and stuff, I think that worked almost perfectly.
Yeah. A couple times you're a little worried of trying to get it hooked on there nicely or taken off. Sometimes it resists a little bit, and you're like, I don't want to just like pull too hard and then maybe knock some things up. But it never really did that.
Right.
So it's just me being a little too worried. So yeah, I agree. The components are perfectly functional.
Because that was one of my main concerns.
Yeah.
So I was glad that those actually did hook into place and then work pretty well. I thought overall.
Yeah.
So and then we played the game, and I would say it probably took a little bit longer than I would have expected. I don't know if that was because we were new to the game, or if it would always take that long. I'm not sure.
I think it's going to be a pretty long game. Every time.
It says 45 minutes on the box, and I don't think 45 minutes is realistic.
No, not at 3 players. Not at every turn. You're going to be having to choose from a wide array of all these movement and also the camera lenses. And just decide where you want to go on the board, because you can take a picture of anything, but maybe you want to complete your panorama and get like one from each section of the board. Just a lot of decisions. And so once you finally choose these, if it doesn't line up quite how you want, then you kind of maybe have to adjust every turn. And then that's happening 3 times every round, and there are 5 rounds in the game. So while it's fun and I enjoy it, and I enjoy watching everyone else's turns as well, I see those equally enjoyable. Just the chaos that I am not having to endure. I felt myself engaged even when it wasn't my turn, and so I enjoyed it. But I think it's going to be a pretty long one.
Yeah. I do like at least though that it specifically says in the rule book, touching one of those pieces counts as claiming it.
Yep, these are
so
mine
you
now.
Do not get to like pick them up and kind of does that fit? No. Is that kind of? So you just have to base it solely on.
But
looking
if you create
at it.
replicas of these, and then you can use those, cheat.
Yes, you could maybe do that. I suppose.
Yeah.
So I like that they did that. So it's not like you try to hook something on and say that doesn't work. I'll do something different. But yeah, I think it's going to be a little long, and I'm wondering if maybe should implement a timer to take your entire turn on. Because you're doing that at first.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like you said, if it doesn't work out, you might be, figuring out where. First, you got to figure out where you're going to move.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, that's not exactly where I wanted to be with my movement based on, because you pick those two things at the same time. So it's not even like you get to move first, then kind of see like, oh yeah, it got me about there. So actually, I want this other lens. But no, you pick those at the same time. So then all of a sudden you're like, well, now I'm looking at that, and that's probably the lens probably isn't going to fit that bear in the photo. And then it's like, okay, well now I gotta possibly move it somewhere else. So I think what it kind of works out, and you kind of get where you were hoping to be with that. It can go a little quicker,
pretty quickly,
and then like especially if then your lens also covers things.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it won't cover the thing that you were hoping to fully, and then you got to move that as well. So there are potential areas there where you might have to kind of adjust what you were originally going to do.
Yeah.
And that just kind of adds time. So I wonder if you could put like I don't know how long turns were taking us, but
I'm not
like
sure,
a
because
couple minute timer maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe like 30 seconds like to choose this, and then 30 seconds to move, and 30 seconds. But then I don't know if I'd like that. I did like the vibe of the gameplay and kind of the flow of it, and if there was any time at all, I feel like that could hurt it, because I feel like it's pretty laid back, and
That's true.
I know that's not for everyone having that, but I did not mind. Like I said, I didn't mind it when it was other players' turns. I enjoyed those just as much as my turns, and so for me personally, I wouldn't feel like I'd have to do that. But I was probably the one taking the most time anyway on my turn, so of course I'd feel that way. But I don't. With what the game is, I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I could
think,
see it for certain people.
I think I probably did maybe a little bit more. I think I would have liked it to go a little bit faster. It felt like so when we do our chippy rating, like the investment. I felt like it did feel like it was long.
Yeah.
Which sometimes you'll have games that take a long time, but they don't necessarily feel long.
Yeah.
This one to me felt long.
Yeah, and I feel like it might be better to just decrease the amount of rounds, possibly.
See, but I feel like that's the fun part. I feel like you still need to. That was
That's
what
true.
I was thinking too.
That's
But
true.
then I was like, I feel like you still want to take 5 pictures. At the end of the day, you're
that's
only
true.
taking 5 pictures,
That's
and
true.
that doesn't. I think that's why it seems like it's so long. Because like, well, I only took 5 pictures in the whole game. Why did the game take an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think that's where it is. So that's where. Yeah, but at the same time, it was our first play, so maybe it would get a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And if you kind of have a little better feeling of how the things would work, maybe that would, or how long they are.
Yeah.
Because I think by the end of the game, there were some that we thought might have been good for certain things at once, but now it's like
we've learned
okay,
that some are a little
gotta get
deceptive.
pretty close.
A little deceptive, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I do like that you're kind of exploring those things, but. Yeah, we'll see with future plays if it still feels long or not. But I think so. That's why I think I'm coming in at about a 6.75 to 7. I did like the gameplay, and it did feel unique, and it worked. I thought it worked pretty well. I thought it felt a little bit long, and maybe I'm trying to think if I'd play it at 4 players competitively. You can play 4 players team mode. And I was reading that, and it sounded like then you're on a team, and you're actually picking this. You're doing the turns at the same time, so you're picking at the same time, you're moving at the same time, but you can't you can't go over each other, and I think you're taking pictures at the same time.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So I wonder how fast that would be.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so I'm interested in trying that at some point to see kind of how that feels. If that kind of speeds it up a little bit at the higher player count.
I feel like that's another thing where it could work, or it could just be chaos.
Right.
It could be horrible, but if they put it in there, it must work pretty decently.
I would think so. It sounds like it would probably work, but we'll definitely have to see. I guess what are you coming at? I'm assuming you're coming at a little bit higher.
I'm always a little higher. I'm between a couple numbers here. I'll put this maybe an 8.
Between a 9 and 10.
Between the 9 and 10. Between the 10 and 11, honestly, but. Probably an 8.5 to 8.75.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this one. Like you said, it's very unique with this, and I don't know. I thought that the scoring in this, there's just enough different ways to score points so that even if something doesn't work out, you can get points in different ways. I love, like you said, those camera-shaped cards. A new one's revealed every round, and they are all in effect every round, all of the revealed ones. So you just build more scoring options throughout the game, and you can maybe fulfill those if other things aren't quite working out for you. And then the panorama, which is so tempting that we all had to go for it, and we all got kind of like one from each section. And you want the sun in like one of your pictures, but not everyone. And sometimes you forget exactly where the sun is, and maybe something doesn't work out, so you adjust and take a picture of this area, and then you're like, no, the sun's over there. Now I lose 2 points for having too much sun in my pictures. And
Just like the tofu.
just
I
like
always
the
think
tofu,
it's the
yeah,
tofu.
the tofu.
Tofu and sushi go party.
Yeah,
You want some, but you don't want a lot.
that's true. But yeah, I'm looking forward. There's a bunch of different scoring cards for each of those 1 through 5 areas, those camera cards. I'm looking forward to how different those are, and I don't know if I would enjoy it more or less with the more advanced side of those area cards, because some of them have required, it looked like required pieces like flowers or animals that you wanted in that area, or required ones of these that you would use to take a picture there.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that would be too restrictive, like just having to use that. But we'll see exactly how that works. But I don't know if that would help or hurt the game.
Yeah, that's true. I like the being able to kind of select things, and then some of the scoring cards anyway already kind of like there was one that we had that said you get a couple points if you use specifically
Yeah,
2 of the different red ones or something. So I feel like that already kind of added enough of that where it's like, well, if I use that though, I could get a point or whatever, point or 2, and yeah, I felt like that was a cool thing. And then there's one like, oh, if there's an animal straight on, past the line of view or line of your lens, then you get additional points for that as well. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how those cards kind of interact. But yeah, we'll probably definitely try the team mode, try the backsides of those cards to see if it feels too restrictive.
Yeah.
Because I think you could be right with that. If it had to specifically be this thing, that makes it a little bit more difficult, but it might also score more too. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it might be like, well, I'm not going to be able to take as much in the picture, but maybe getting that specifically gets more points. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
So we'll have to check that out. But I guess any other words on it?
I have absolutely no words.
No words. But like I said, you can check out our unboxing video of this one. It's got a lot of great looking components. It all works. Yeah, I think this one's worth taking a look at. If something like that sounds fun to you, because it's war game without the war game.
War game without the war game. Redwood.
What were you gonna say? You could see.
Oh, yeah, I could see it like totally not being someone's type of game. Like this is either, I mean, you can be in the middle on it, and I think that's probably kind of where you are. But
I think so.
And I think maybe I'm just a little more into this type of game, kind of trying to puzzle out that movement, and I could see that just being just a nightmare for some people, especially if you are not great at
like spatial awareness. Is that what it is?
Yeah, just kind of looking and seeing and visualizing those pieces on the board. If you're not good at that, if you struggle with that, this could help you with that. It could be a good exercise, but
it could also just be a horrible experience if you don't like that.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yes. So yeah, hopefully that helps you decide if this one sounds like it's one for you. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next video. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.